President, I ask unanimous consent that as if in legislative session, the Senate proceed to calendar number 153, H.R. 1327, that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate.
Action.
Mr. President.
Senator from Kentucky.
Reserving the right to object. It has long been my feeling that we need to address our massive debt in this country. We have a $22 trillion debt. We're adding debt at about $1 trillion a year. And therefore, any new spending that we are approaching, any new program that's going to have the longevity of 70, 80 years should be offset by cutting spending that's less valuable. We need to, at the very least, have this debate. I will be offering up an amendment if this bill should come to the floor, but until then, I will object.
Objections heard.
Mr. President.
Senator from New York.
I am deeply disappointed that my colleague has just objected to the desperately needed and urgent bill for our 9/11 first responders, a bipartisan bill that just earned over 400 votes in the U.S. House of Representatives and has 73 co-sponsors in this chamber. Enough of the political games. Our 9/11 first responders and the entire nation are watching to see if this body actually cares. Do we care about the men and women who answered the call of duty? When our country was attacked on 9/11.
This is Republican Senator Rand Paul blocking a bill by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand as she sought unanimous consent to extend the 9/11 Victims' Compensation Fund until the year 2090. This would have ultimately ensured funding throughout the lives of the 9/11 first responders, the people who, when everyone else was trying to get away from the World Trade Center on 9/11, ran into the rubble, exposing themselves to cancer-causing toxins in the air. Paul objected on the basis of what else but fiscal responsibility, claiming that we must address our massive debt in this country. He even took to Twitter claiming that he wasn't blocking the 9/11 bill, but simply asking for a vote on an amendment to offset the cost. Only by calling for that amendment, he did block a unanimous consent vote. I feel like there's a quote by Orwell that would fit nicely here. And it's true that Paul's objection doesn't kill the bill, but it does unnecessarily prolong the process while 9/11 first responders are waiting on funding for treatment that will determine whether they live or die. Those are the only people affected by Rand Paul's principled stand. And what's worse is that while Rand Paul grandstands about the importance of fiscal responsibility, I don't exactly remember him saying anything about our massive debt when he voted in favor of the $1.5 trillion tax cuts for corporations and the ultra-rich. You know, the same tax cut that exploded our deficit, the one that was supposed to pay for itself despite economists claiming that it wouldn't, and then lo and behold, it turns out that it wouldn't pay for itself. The one that Democrats warned would just lead to stock buybacks and executive salary raises, and then ultimately led to stock buybacks and executive salary raises. Does that one ring a bell? And yet this bill, protecting the men and women who gave their health, their futures with their families, their lives to save Americans trapped under the rubble on the darkest day in modern American history, this is the bill Rand Paul stopped in its tracks. This bill that passed the House 402-12 and had 73 co-sponsors in the Senate. You couldn't get that many senators to agree that blue and yellow makes green, and yet for once, a veto-proof majority of senators supported this bill. This is the hill that Paul has opted to die on, to suddenly reemerge as a champion of fiscal responsibility after voting to explode the deficit so the rich could enjoy a tax cut. Guess your steadfast principles take a back seat when you stand to benefit financially. And this isn't even the first time that Paul has flown in the face of bipartisan consensus in the Senate. In 2017, Paul was the sole objector as then-Senator John McCain attempted to pass a resolution by unanimous consent that would allow Montenegro to join NATO, a move opposed by Russia.
If there is objection, and I note the senator from Kentucky on the floor, I will say before I read this, if there is objection, you are achieving the objectives of Vladimir Putin. You're achieving the objectives of trying to dismember this small country that has already been the subject of attempted coup. I have no idea why anyone would object to this, except that I will say, if they object, they are now carrying out the desires and ambitions of Vladimir Putin, and I do not say that lightly. So, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent.
Senator from Kentucky.
I object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President, I note the senator from Kentucky leaving the floor without justification or any rationale for the action that he has just taken. That is really remarkable. That a senator blocking a treaty that is supported by the overwhelming number, perhaps 98 at least, of his colleagues, would come to the floor and object and walk away. And walk away. The only conclusion you can draw when he walks away is he has no argument to be made. He has no justification for his objection to having a small nation be part of NATO that is under assault from the Russians. So I repeat again, the senator from Kentucky is now working for Vladimir Putin. I yield the floor.
So the next time a Republican senator like Rand Paul uses a national tragedy like 9/11 as an excuse to start virtue signaling about #never forgetting, to spew platitudes about protecting those who defend our freedoms, remember that it's nothing more than empty rhetoric. That while he might be quick to pander on Twitter, when it comes time to actually follow through and walk the walk,
I will object.